Attention, due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 107 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And we have a fun episode tonight. We're breaking our format just a little bit due to some travel over the summer, and we're spreading out our Summer Slaycation Phantasm series into 3 episodes. So tonight is part 2, where we discuss Phantasm 2, Electric Boogaloo.
That's right. This one's probably not deserving, as we said last week, of its own episode.
Yeah.
But it's still a pretty good entry, and I really liked it. So it actually worked out with my travel and stuff. It was better just to do a full episode here instead of just saddling you guys with another mini-sode and then trying to cram 4 Phantasm films into one. That just didn't seem like it would work out too well. So we went with this kind of weird split, so bear with us there.
Yeah, I mean, now it'll just be known as Phantasm 2, sponsored by Gen Con, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Gen Con, I do have some news in the first chop that's not even in the rundown, Brian, but I need to tell you about it, so remind me when we get there.
Okay.
But let's get right to it. Speaking of which, here is our first chop. All right, Brian, so my 40 Years of Terror project continues, and man, I saw a gem of a movie this time. I love it when a movie comes out. I've never even heard of this movie before. Comes out of left field, and I absolutely loved it. The year was 1989. This movie you may see listed as 1990 because it actually debuted in the U.S. in 1990, but it was a Spanish film, so it was actually produced in 89. It's called Santa Sangre, which translates to Holy Blood. And this one is a very surreal, very bizarre. I almost want to call it a masterpiece, Brian.
Wow.
I almost want to call it a masterpiece. It is so interesting. It tells the story of this man, and we learn his story through flashbacks. But essentially, he was witness to a murder-suicide when he was young that traumatized him and put him in a mental institution for the rest of his life. He grew up in a circus family. His mother was a religious cult leader who had her arms chopped off, and he runs into his mother many years later when he gets out of the mental institution, and he essentially becomes her arms. So he stands behind her and becomes her arms, and she can kind of control his arms as well and bids him to do murder against any woman that comes between him and his mother. Sort of like a Norman Bates type scenario.
There's a couple of horror movies I feel like this is like got pieces of in there.
Yeah, but it's such a bizarre story, but the imagery in this film is just outstanding. Like, and I think it's so unsettling because they use like real little people. And I'm talking like the little, not just dwarves, but like the real like circus type little people that you would see like in a sideshow or something, like extreme dwarfism. You've got like people with Down syndrome. And I mean, I hesitate. It sounds kind of exploitative, which it probably is, but it also adds to the unsettling feel of this movie because there's always these real people in here, and it's very very strange and very unsettling. And a lot of the imagery too is very cinematic and very strange and unsettling. This movie got into my head in a big way. It's very, very odd. I would highly recommend it. It's on Amazon Prime. I found out it was on one of Roger Ebert's greatest movies books or list. Oh, wow. So even he respected this movie. Yeah, watch it on Prime. Santa Sangre. It is definitely something you've never seen before, and I found it fascinating. I kind of want to own this movie because it is very, very interesting film.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on IMDb, and there's some funny character names in here. There's Phoenix and Orgo. These...
It's a bizarre, a lot of circus imagery. It's very, very weird. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, this is funny the way the cast is. Literally, there's someone listed as fat prostitute.
Yeah, there's a fat prostitute.
And pimp. Sure. Just pimp.
There's a cross-dressing wrestler. I mean,
oh my God.
Some of the imagery in this movie, I don't want to give it away because I want you to just experience it on your own. Like some of the just bizarre scenes in this movie, you need to see them on your own without me telling you about them.
I know. I think I need to watch this tonight after we're done recording.
Yeah, I would love to discuss it with somebody that's seen it. And the next one up is not quite as much of a cinematic masterpiece. But Brian, we talked a while back about that Letterboxd list of the top 1,000 horror movies that somebody had made.
Yeah.
I realized when I had gone through it, I had seen over 50% of them.
Wow, that's pretty good.
I decided, you know what? Why not see the other 50%? So I've slowly been, as I can, I'll try to watch one or two off of that list. And I haven't really been talking about them on the show because a lot of the ones I've watched have been really bad, to be quite honest. But I thought, you know what?
But they were on that list? That's funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's 1,000 movies. So you when you start getting to the 900s,
That's
you're really
true.
starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, they're just like throwing in anything at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's stuff like, Howling 6 and Ghoulies 4.
So it's not really the best. It's just like they took 1,000 movies and put them in an order.
Yeah, it's basically what it is. But it's fun to do. I love lists. So, so I decided, you know what? I am going to start talking about them on the show. I'm not making this an official project because it's like 500 movies and it would take me like the next 10 years to do it. But
God help if our podcast lasts that long.
I know, really. But I figured I might as well talk about them a little bit. So the one I watched today was The Last Exorcism 2. I had seen the original Last Exorcism, which I actually really liked, except for the ending.
Yeah.
And this one is a direct follow-up. So the young girl that was in the first one has kind of pieced her life back together. She was in kind of a mental... I don't want to say like a mental institution. It's kind of like an institute where other troubled teens go. So it's not like real clinical mental institution. It's more like a home environment where they help them, get jobs and they help them kind of get back to.
Was it kind of like that thing in was it Freddy's Dead? Like where they were that kind of.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah, I think it's more like that. So she's kind of gotten back. She's kind of convinced herself, and the psychiatrists have helped her convince herself that none of that stuff was real, and that she can now have a normal life. She can hold down a job, and she's kind of started to get her life back in order. But just as she does that, this crazy cult, which was responsible for her possession in the first movie, spoiler alert, it's not that good a movie that I'm spoiling it, so I don't feel bad. They start to come back into her life, and the possession stuff starts coming back into her life. And I have to say, this wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I actually kind of enjoyed it, and I think it's because the main actress, I kind of like her portrayal. Like, she's really good. And, it's like most possession movies, it's basically a lot of screaming for an hour and a half, but I don't know. I was entertained by it.
A lot of growling,
Yeah, a lot of growling and screaming, but I was entertained by it. It's not, I wouldn't say it's particularly scary per se, but I enjoyed kind of seeing the follow-up to the original story and all that kind of stuff. So that's The Last Exorcism 2.
Nice. Not Electric Boogaloo, though?
Not Electric Boogaloo this time.
Okay, that's just
that would have made it far more entertaining.
That would. We should see if they can do that mashup. Could they be in a shared universe somehow?
Well, the way some of those people were contorting, it looked kind of like breakdancing.
So. Oh, so there you go. So maybe we found the connection.
So what did you see, Brian?
Yeah, so I was just the other night. I was looking for something to watch. I know I've been lagging on my Twilight Zone project, but that is it's a some time commitment in there to get all because in season 3 the discs are long and it's harder in the summer. So I popped on Shudder to go through, and I saw that under their leaving soon section, where things are going to be pulled off the service for whatever reason. I guess maybe just to have it for a limited time. And I saw a Ghost Story from 1981. Have you seen that? I can't remember.
I've seen it a long time ago, and I did read the novel by Peter Straub.
Okay. So you know what I'm talking about. And I hadn't seen it in a while either, and I'm like, I kind of wanted to see that again. And so I was like, and now that they're going to pull it off a Shudder, that's like one of those I could see being really hard to track down. But anyway, so I decided, you know what, let me watch that. And, I forgot it's kind of a really fun Ghost Story movie, though. I mean, it has its flaws. Its effects are some parts dated. And, I looked at some of the criticism people had on it, but you know what, though? It's just a fun movie to watch. And Alice Krige is so good in it. And, and you got people like Fred Astaire in it, and John Houseman, and it's like, how do you, just seeing all that. And I just like the whole, premise of that movie, how it's that club, the Chowder Club, it's like this secret, and they all tell ghost stories. And it's just a cool premise, in all honesty. And it's, it has a cool retro thing, how they do the story goes through its exposition kind of in real time and flashbacks, and It's just a really fun movie. And, back at the, like I remember a lot of people saying, oh, I saw it in the theater and I loved it. And it's like, I kind of wish I would have seen that in the theater because it probably would have been fun to see in the theater. But yeah, so I watched that and I'm glad I did. I'm kind of hoping that I can get it because I want to kind of add that to my collection. I actually do want to read the book because someone said the book is actually really good too.
Yeah,
so.
He's a great writer. He writes. Peter Straub writes some very deep and thought-provoking horror. It's not like your typical kind of pulp horror. His stuff is really very literary and very deep. So he's a very, very good horror author. And of course, he's collaborated with Stephen King on The Talisman and Black House. So yeah, he's a definitely good writer.
Yeah, I think that's one we should do some point on the show. Though I think that'd be a fun one to.
Yeah, and I haven't seen it in so long. I'd love to see that again.
Yeah, we'll definitely try. I would watch it soon, while it's on Shudder, and you can get it for, as part of our subscription, because I don't know when that leaves how easy it'll be to track down.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably rent it somewhere, but,
I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
We also have some sad news to report. A little late because of when this happened in our recording time, but of course, we learned of the passing of Rutger Hauer, who was probably best known for his Blade Runner role.
Yeah.
But also had some great horror cred. He was in the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. He's, of course, in the Salem's Lot miniseries. He was in True Blood. A lot of vampire TV or vampire film and TV this guy did.
Yeah.
And I was in Channel Zero, which is
that's right.
a fantastic horror anthology, or not quite anthology, horror series. I guess it's kind of an anthology, and each season's different, sort of like American Horror Story. But yes, I was sad to see that because he's always been a favorite of mine, and he always was great in every role he did in any movie. And he always would pop out in the most unexpected films.
Yeah. Like, like it was the weirdest thing when he was in A Troll in Central Park. I mean, that was no, I'm sorry, he was not in there. But he was one of those great, just great, like, not even a character actor. That's not like giving him enough credit because he was a main actor, but it was just, he was in, like you said, he was just, you never knew what he was going to pop up in, and he was so good whenever he was there, no matter what he did. So,
well, it's like when he would pop up in some major motion picture, you expected it, but then he'd pop up in some like weird, off the wall kilter action film or even horror sequel or something. And you would equally not be surprised to see him in it.
Yeah, he's very unique in that way that he would just do he could be in anything. And the best part is he was all in whatever he did. So that's why he was very memorable. And it's kind of sad. I feel like we're losing a lot of people in the last couple of years that at least I know we grew up with at least.
Well, next up is somebody I hope we won't be losing anytime soon. But I'm very glad I got his autograph because he is getting on out there in age.
Yeah.
That is, my brother surprised me. He went to Raleigh SuperCon this past weekend, met some fantastic people. Not a lot of horror people there, but he did meet some fantastic celebrities. And he told
met
me
Mick Foley, right?
Yeah, he met Mick Foley. He met Richard Dean Anderson from MacGyver.
Nice.
He had a long conversation with Billy Zane, of course, from Tombstone and Titanic, who he said
he's
was
going to New Jersey. Monster Mania. He's going to be at. He's at one of the cons coming up.
Kev said he's like the nicest guy in the entire world.
Wow.
And he asked, because one of the guys that was with Kevin said, "Well, Mr. Zane, why do you always play these bad guys? And you're just so nice in real life." And he said, "That's how good an actor I am."
I know. I could see him doing that. He's like, "I'm an actor."
No, but they said he was just super friendly, and he does the convention circuit just to meet people. He said he absolutely loves meeting people and just hanging out. He said he does. He said the money's good, but he doesn't do it for the money. He does it simply for the experience of all the people he gets to meet and all the friends he meets. So, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, see, I like when we hear that because some of the people we met at New Jersey Horror Con said the same thing. And it's nice when you hear that, and based on when you see them, it's legit. They really, because they you could tell, you could see it on their faces. They're not they're not just there to sit there and blindly sign an autograph, and they don't block people from other celebrities, which happened. No, I'm just kidding. Had to bring the Biff block back. Yeah. No, but and it's like that's what's great about it, and that's what's so fun when you go to repeat cons. You just because you get a whole new family basically of you get a con family going. So
yeah, and he gave Kevin a free autograph at the end of the night too. which I thought was
Really?
cool. Yeah.
That's
Just gave him a free
awesome.
autograph. He said because they were sitting there talking for a while. It was the end of the night. They just went up to talk to him because he had nobody at his table. And they chit-chatted for a few minutes. And he took a short video of Kevin and his friends explaining their Ninja Turtle club because they all had the same shirts on and stuff. And talked about him about that. And at the end, he gave them free autographs. So how cool was that? Yeah, really nice guy. But anyway, so at the con, Kevin surprised me. He texts me and he goes, basically, which photograph of Riku Browning do you want? And I was like, oh my God. So I got the one and I posted it on Instagram of him with the creature head off and he's holding the creature head. So you could tell he's the creature, but you get to see his face too, which I thought was perfect because, you kind of want to see like the real actor and the suit in the same photo. And that was just a perfect photo. Finally got his autograph. I'd been kicking myself for 4 years that I did not get his autograph at maybe 3 years at Mad Monster Party in Charlotte was when I saw him, and I didn't get his autograph. And I've really seriously been kicking myself the entire time because I thought, how long is this guy going to be on the con circuit? He's in his 80s.
Yeah.
So I was so happy that Kevin was able to grab that for me.
That's awesome. And ironically, it was funny. I saw on Twitter, Rico Browning tweeted out. He said, "I finally got my autograph to Tim."
That's right.
So look at that.
He's been waiting so long. He's going to every con, and I'm just never.
Yeah,
there.
hoping you'd show up. And now look,
there.
now the both sides are happy in this situation. So.
Well, we got some other cool news in terms of run times.
Yeah, it's cool for everything but your bladder. Because what's with these movies already? I swear to God, you're literally going to have to stop drinking at 10 a.m. now before you go see a movie at night.
Do not hydrate. Warning.
Yeah, seriously.
It Chapter 2 is being reported at 2 hours and 45-minute runtime.
That is insane because what was the first one? It was under 2 hours, right? Or no, it's just over 2 hours. I just watched it last week, actually, just because. Oh, that's another thing I should say. Yeah, I rewatched that because actually it was funny because Kim and Ket did the original It.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I kind of want to watch. I've been meaning to watch the remake again. I'm probably going to watch it one more time right before the movie, but I kind of want to watch it again. So I watched that. Yeah, so that was just over 2 hours. This is 2 hours and 45 minutes. And I'm trying to think, this is the second half. Why is it going to be so long?
Oh, I don't know. It's a lot.
I know there's going to be
movie.
Obviously flashbacks again to the so I wonder if they're going to expand more on the original, the first part. With some more sequences, I'm wondering how to do that. How they're going to do that because that's a long time.
Yeah, that's a mini series in and of itself. Those two films together. It's longer than the original. Yeah,
because I think without commercials, the original one runs 2 hours and I think 2 hours and 45 minutes, possibly, or three. Just near 3 or over 3. It's definitely way less the original mini series, which seemed like it was really long.
Wow,
compared to the two movies. But
I can't wait.
What? If it's that good, let it be 3.5 hours for like Endgame went by really fast. And I'm hearing things of with Rise of Skywalker going to be approaching that time, possibly close to 3 hours too. And
the fans don't care.
No, they don't.
Do you care? I don't care.
No. I do say, it stinks that I can't have my usual amount of coffee during the day. But other than that, I'll get through it. I'll find a way.
Well, they also learned that you can have a 2 hour, 45-minute movie. They used to limit the times of movies because it would limit their box office take because they couldn't show as many screenings per day. But now when you have these giant multiplexes and heck, my movie theater starts showing movies at 10 in the morning.
Right.
So they can pack it all in. It doesn't matter how long the movie is.
Now, this is unusual, though, for a horror film, though.
It really is, yeah.
That's what's, I think, kind of unusual about it.
Is this the longest horror film ever?
Yeah, I don't know, but that's actually an interesting fact. If anyone's listening and knows that stat, if not, we got to look it up. But, it's funny, when I saw that reported at 2 hours and 40, because first Cone told me, then I saw it reported on a bunch of sites. I didn't see anyone say, this will mark it the longest horror film in history. But I'm sure if you put them together, 1 and 2, it's definitely the longest, but I'm trying to think what might have been Shining was pretty long, right? What was that?
Yeah, but it wasn't near this long.
It wasn't near 2 hours and 45 minutes, but it was over 2 hours.
It was over 2 hours, but it wasn't anywhere close to 2 hours 45.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What can you think of anything?
I mean, it would probably have to be some weird, obscure foreign film or something. Like, I can't think of any like mainstream horror that was anywhere close to that.
Yeah. Okay, so Shining ran 2 hours and 26 minutes, so it's not that far off. It's only it's another 20 minutes or 19 minutes technically. So it's 19 minutes longer than The Shining. So
okay, here we go. Grindhouse was technically 3 hours 13 minutes.
oh, but that's 2 films. Even though it's 1 film, it's still, to me, it's right. Isn't that technically 2 films?
It's technically 2 films. And then Qui-Gon, I guess I'm
Qui-Gon Jinn?
Qui-Gon, Kwaidan, however you pronounce that, is 3 hours and 3 minutes. That was a Japanese anthology horror film, which I really want to see. I've heard it's really, really good.
Okay, but see, that counts to me as 1 film. Grindhouse, I'm counting as 2 films.
Yeah.
I know they were shown together, but I mean, they advertised as you were getting a double feature. So,
yeah. And then after that is Dawn of the Dead at 2 hours 36 minutes. So
that was that long?
Yeah, that's what it says here.
Wow.
So yeah, you could argue that this is. You could definitely argue it's the 3rd longest running film. I would make an argument that it's the 2nd longest behind Qui-Gon, because Grindhouse I still see as 2 movies, but I did see it in the theater as 1 film, so I don't know.
But yeah, well, the only reason why I'm like sticking to the 2 films thing is because when it was advertised, it was a Grindhouse double feature kind of thing, and they were making it like the whole point of the way they released that was to make it kind of like the old school double features you could go see with the ads and all that stuff.
That's true.
So that was they
even released it separately on Blu-ray.
Right. I mean, I bought the version I have is the double feature version, but yeah, it was yeah. So I don't count that as 2. So it looks like that. So chapter 2 could be number 2,
and it could be the longest American horror film.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I mean, it has to be then, if that's unless we're missing something completely. But
unless my Google is very weak, so yeah, feel free to correct us. But
yeah.
Next up, 7 more days left for the Terrifier 2 Indiegogo campaign.
I know we got to put our bids in there.
Yeah,
not our bids, but we got to do our donation. We're planning on it. We've just been lazy, but I have the reminder to set on my phone to do it later. So I'm going to do it. We'll do that so we can get some Civil Gore donating to one of our favorite just 2 of our favorite people, actually, Damien Leone and David Howard Thornton. Yeah. They're just awesome, and anything we could do to help them is awesome, and so I think everyone should do the same. I know Cody donated already. So she's got her name in the credits. We
have a whole Civil Gore family in the credits.
I know. That's what we want. So everyone who's listening should do that. And then write, like, how you, of course, put that, Civil Gore. No, Maliki, you don't have to do that. But, yeah. So, yeah, but I mean, come on. I mean, they've already so far eclipsed their goal. Terrifier 2 is going to be insane. Yeah. I cannot wait for this.
CW is going to shoot a brand new pilot for the Lost Boys TV series. Last month, one was filmed, but it's being scrapped.
That doesn't seem promising. For that, well, how bad must that first been?
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe this will be better.
But I mean, for the pilot, which is not always going to be the thing that you see anyway, the fact that it was so bad that they pulled it to do another one, I guess I don't know. And apparently they're rewriting a lot of stuff for the series. Yeah. So wherever they were going with it, I guess they were a little.
I'm a little leery of the CW doing this series, though, because they had the Vampire Diaries and stuff. I'm just very afraid it's going to turn into another one of those teen emo generic vampire shows.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that CW doesn't have good shows. They do, but it's that one. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Let's hope it's maybe that's why. Maybe they realize they're like, oh God, what is it? This is no different than everything else that people have seen. Let's go scrap this and try it again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like the CW shows more or less, but it is a particular mood you have to be in to watch this. Yeah. I mean, it's really got that teen drama thing going on. I just don't want it to be another Vampire Diaries, which I enjoyed that show up to an extent, but it was, it wasn't the Lost Boys. Come on.
No. Yeah.
AMC Fear Fest is going to return October 13th. 19 days and 80 films, including iconic film franchises such as Halloween, Friday the 13th, Leprechaun.
I wonder who inspired them for that one.
I know. Alien and Stephen King classics. So this actually sounds like Civil Gore, the the AMC movie
marathon.
series, the marathon. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
stuff we've covered. And we have not decided yet on how we're going to do our horror challenge this year, but we're going to have to start brainstorming soon, Brian, because it's going to be on us before we know it.
Yeah, I was thinking that this weekend, because last time I know, due to time constraint, it was good because it forced us to do it in a creative way where we would release it week after week. But I kind of don't want to do that to people this year because I know you and I mean, between October is tough enough, and then with Kevin's wedding, we're going to have some times where we're going to have to watch a couple of movies a night to catch up. So I think we'll try and have it for you. Maybe like let's try and shoot for like the week before October 1st, so people get some time to prep for it.
Yeah, we'll try to get it out there and have something nailed down solid for you.
Yeah,
guys.
I kind of, if you guys have any ideas of any themes too, let us know because I mean, right now, off the top of my head, I can't. It'll probably be same thing where we'll have some themes, maybe week themes like that, per week, but we'll just announce it ahead of time, or kind of like we did last time where we have one. We had
like
30
4
different
themes. Yeah.
Well, the first one, right? What would we do? 30 different themes, right?
Yeah, it was like 30 different types of films you had
Yeah.
to watch. And then the second one was more like this was the theme of the week type thing.
Right.
So, yeah, we'll have to come up with something cool and different to do.
Yeah, I want to think of something like really, different. Because, everyone has their horror challenges, and they always do that. Some are just like, hey, watch 31 films in 31 days. But, we like to make it fun. We like to, like the same thing with the theme of our podcast. We like to...
I also like to encourage people to see stuff they haven't seen before.
Right.
And
that's the one
zone.
rule.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of the one rule we have, really. Just try, because I know that's the ones Tim and I stick to, is that to try and, make it something you haven't seen. And that is actually where, especially for big horror fans, where the true challenge comes in, when you're restricted to maybe a type of genre with a theme to it, and then you're trying to find one that you haven't seen. You're like, it's like...
This next news article I'm really excited about, if it holds true.
Yeah.
There is a rumored Dracula dark ride coming to Universal in a supposed Universal Monsters section, which would be incredible.
Yeah, and so this is the rumor. They're teasing the announcement this week. The big rumor that it was going to be was called Fantastic Worlds, but now they're saying something epic is coming. So now some people are thinking that maybe it's going to be called Epic Worlds. The logo is like a hidden logo you can kind of see, but kind of looks like that Islands Adventure thing, but around a planet. So I think Worlds is going to be in the title of this new park, which is going to the Orlando Resort. I think the rumored lands was a Jurassic World section, the long-awaited Super Nintendo section, the classic monster section. I forgot what the other one. I don't know. I think someone was saying maybe Lord of the Rings or something. I forgot. Because you know what? I was trying to focus on the Dracula thing, but supposedly the little bit I read about this Dracula dark ride is supposedly it was in the works for some time, even before the Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. So it may use that type of ride system actually.
Oh wow, that would be so cool.
Which would be insane, because that means you're like, for those who have not ridden that ride, first of all, you're missing out, because that is one of the classic theme park attractions out there. And it's definitely one of Universal's best, because it mixes some screen effects, but with some great practical effects. And with the way that robot arm moves you around, you're like flying in the air, and the things are right up in your face. Like real sets are right in your face, unlike any other dark ride out there. So, if this section exists alone, Tim and I just like talk about shutting up and take our money.
I'll be down there.
That's one there. And then, but now you're adding a great Dracula dark ride. We're hoping that there's something with, of course, Tim's favorite, the creature.
As long as they don't steal my ride.
Yes, as long as they don't steal Tim's ride. And you know what? I think we should almost, before this is announced, you should almost like describe your ride. Maybe not this episode, although it might be out, but I don't know if they'll have all the details leaked yet. But we have proof. We could just talk to Mike and EB, and they could send us that clip from Coaster Radio. And I actually have your ride designed on video, because when we did the Dollywood meetup,
an award-winning design by theme park industry notables chimed in and gave this an award.
Yes. Our very own Tim has like award-winning status for ride design.
Yeah.
And so that alone. So if Universal comes back and they've taken Tim's ride, we have proof, and we might have a claim. So, but I don't know. I think Tim and I might settle for lifetime passes.
Mm-hmm.
And a free RIP tour for every year for Halloween Horror Nights.
I will sell my ride idea for that.
Yeah,
right
I think
now,
that's a
I'm
good
saying,
deal.
if Universal is listening, I don't need millions of dollars. I don't need royalties. Just VIP passes to Universal lifetime, along with Halloween Horror Nights VIP for me and Brian, and family, of course.
Yes. And
yeah,
I think that's
I will have to go into that. Yeah, I'll have to describe my Creature from the Black Lagoon ride at some point. But
Yes. Maybe, you know what? Maybe after they release, just to find out, compare, see if they if they do
actually stole it. Yeah.
And also maybe if we're feeling cheeky, we'll have them add the Civilgore Stunt Spectacular.
Well, speaking of Universal Monsters, Brian, I had this for later in the rundown, but I need to go ahead and tell you about it because it fits right in. So I looked at a preview of a game that I was going to check out at Gen Con called Horrified.
Ooh.
This is a board game based on the Universal classic monsters. And it is a cooperative game, which means you're fighting against the monsters to prevent them from killing all of the villagers in your village. So you're
Are you Abbott and Costello? Just out of
you could probably make that argument. Yeah. But I was going to check this out at Gen Con, but I happened upon a YouTube preview of it and got to see kind of a gameplay session and how you play the game. I'm definitely going to check it out at Gen Con. I may even buy it at Gen Con.
Oh.
It's not going to be that expensive. I think the MSRP is about $35, which is not bad. And I believe it's probably going to be fairly widely available at Target and Walmart and places like that. So this is not going to be one of those niche games that's hard to track down. But this thing looks incredible. I love the art style. There's little miniatures of the Creature from the Black Lagoon, Dracula, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, the Invisible Man. I think
it's officially licensed?
Officially licensed.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I think in total there's 6 or 7 monsters that you can battle. And each session you choose 3 of them at random that are going to come into your village. And
oh my God, that sounds cool.
What's neat about it is every monster requires a completely different strategy to beat. So, for example, if you're fighting Dracula, to defeat him, you have to destroy 4 coffins that are scattered about the town. And then after the 4 coffins are destroyed, you have to face him down and kill him. But the Creature from the Black Lagoon, you have to find his underground, or his underwater lair. So you actually have to play cards and items and things to move this boat all the way through this track to get to his underground lair, and then you can face him and battle him.
What does the game board look like? So is it like a whole map of the town?
Yeah, it's like a map of the village, and there's spots for all the different buildings and stuff in the village. And for example,
cool.
The Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, if they're together, you have to teach them humanity. So you basically are turning them from monsters into good people so that they won't destroy anything. It sounds really, really cool. And they said the replayability is super high because you can mix and match these monsters. So it's going to play totally differently playing Dracula and Creature versus like Frankenstein and the Invisible Man, because your goals are completely different. You're going to have to do things completely different. It uses the same kind of game mechanics of a game called Pandemic, which I'm very familiar with.
We discussed that, right? We discussed that on the show once.
Yeah, it was in the It game kind of uses something a little bit similar. This one is very much more close to Pandemic, in which basically as a player you have 4 actions you can do each round. It might be move, it may be move a villager, it may be pick up an item, it may be this or that. And you can use any of those 4 actions, or you can use all 4 of the same action, but you're only limited to those 4. And you have to figure out, it's kind of puzzly in that you have to figure out what's the best thing to do on my turn to help us win. And then the monsters are going to take a turn, and they're going to basically mess all your plans up and kill villagers and do everything else. So you're constantly mitigating what the monsters are going to do by advancing the game. So it looks really, really fun. I'm going to definitely check it out at Gen Con. I will probably buy it just to have it because it's got a Creature from the Black Lagoon miniature in it, which is super cool. Like, I'm just going to buy it. That. It just looks neat. I mean, the art looks neat. It just oozes Universal monsters. The villagers and the characters are all named after people in the films, like Igor and Igor, however you want to pronounce it.
Civilgore.
Renfield's in there. There's like cards with Renfield on them, and it looks amazing. I can't wait.
So, because I pardon my question if it's like a kind of like a well duh kind of thing, but it's like I'm not obviously as expertise. I don't have my expertise in gaming like that. But so is there someone that just always plays like the monsters and like controls that, or does everyone you just roll the dice or whatever? And
The monsters are yeah. There's no game master or anything. So
okay.
So everybody who's playing is playing on the part of the good guys, working together to defeat the monsters. And then there's game mechanics like cards and stuff that tell you what the monsters do each turn.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
yeah, so you're always working together. So I did not talk about this game much before because I did not realize it was cooperative. And I'm mainly into cooperative games. And when I found that out, I immediately looked up a video and I was super excited because
Nice.
this looks right up my alley.
Oh, speaking of Gen Con, let me know if they have any update on like the Dark Tower game.
They are going to have an update. In fact, they're going to have a demo. I've already looked it up. Yep.
Oh, you got to get over to that. You got to take some video for me. If you
Yeah,
can.
I definitely will. Return to Dark Tower is getting a demo at Gen Con now. It will probably be very early prototype because they are doing the full electronic tower again,
That
just
is
like
so
in the original
awesome.
game. But yeah, I will it's definitely on my list already of vendors to go hit. So that'll definitely be definitely get you an update there.
You know what? See, you know what? If you meet the guys from there, see if anyone want to come on. Like come on as a guest because that'll be a cool interview. I'd love to interview that because I just remember that game from. But like I said, I rarely ever played it as a full game. I just kept playing around with the tower.
Yeah.
Man, I kind of made my own version of the game, but still, it was so much fun. It was so cool at the time. There was nothing like it out there that did that. So it was cool.
Yeah, it sounds very ambitious, this new one they're doing. But I'm sure they have a lot of respect for the original, so I'm sure it'll be great.
Nice.
All right, so next up, James Wan is directing an I Know What You Did Last Summer pilot for Amazon.
That's interesting.
That sounds weird. They're bringing back everything now. But if James Wan's directing it, I'm in.
Yeah, and it's weird to see him do something like that, which is not really like a ghost thing.
Yeah.
Unless he totally flips the script and now there's,
We got some more Halloween news here. Halloween Kills rumor that Tommy Doyle is to return.
Yes.
And supposedly Paul Rudd was offered the role but had to turn it down because of Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Which, I mean, come on, you got two major franchises, but Paul Rudd is definitely more of a Ghostbusters
yeah, and
choice.
I was sure he would do it if he could.
Yeah, no, he said, I think he literally turned it down. According to the article I read, he turned it down because of Ghostbusters. He's already committed, so.
Yeah.
But you know what? That brings me up a question, though. Why? I wonder why they haven't made more of an effort to bring Danielle Harris back in. And I know she's been kind of vocal on Twitter about it. Kind of joking around, But part of it's probably serious because, like, why can't they bring her back, even as some kind of a cameo or another role? I mean, I know the Jamie Lloyd character probably will not be brought back because that's from a timeline, but you gotta find a place for her in there. She's such a legend in the Halloween history.
Yeah, I mean, give her a cameo, for God's sake. Anything.
Something. Yeah, even if she plays Jamie Lloyd, but Jamie Lloyd has nothing to do with the Jamie Lloyd that we knew. I think that would be a funny way to kind of get her in there.
Yeah. And also, the other Halloween news we have is that Nick Castle has confirmed to return as Michael Myers for both sequels, so that's cool.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Brian, this is a good one for you. Twin Peaks complete series set coming. Now, I was surprised there hasn't been one of these yet, or is it this including the new season?
Yeah, this is including the new one, and but the thing is, it's like I have the all of them already, and they have all these special features on it. I'm wondering what this one will have to get me to pull the trigger on another version of it, because I have a couple versions of the old ones on DVD. I have the new one on Blu-ray, and the original's on Blu-ray. So I'm like, I kind of got to see what it is, if they'll do something that'll really get me to pull the trigger on it, because if there's nothing new that I don't have, I mean, does it make sense for me to buy it? Although I did read that. Okay, so I did read that Fire Walk With Me, I believe, is going to be part of the set. Now, if they somehow like re-edited all those deleted scenes out and put that in to make the ultimate cut of that, that's something that would pull me in for sure. Because I've seen all the deleted scenes from it. However, it would be interesting if they actually re-edited it the way that, because originally I think the cut was like 4.5 hours, some crazy thing like that. I mean, they don't even, like, all the deleted scenes I've seen don't add up to that. So, yeah, so I'm not even sure what. That
would be cool, though. But
that would be cool if there was a David Lynch approved edit of that movie to the full, like, at least close to that 4-hour thing. I'd be in on that one.
And then lastly, Brian, I watched the first 2 episodes of a Netflix series called Typewriter. And the reason I watched it was because CNN had an article saying new Netflix show is so scary users can't sleep at night. And I'm like,
not again.
I was like, okay, I got to check this out.
How many times are they going to describe that to a movie?
I don't know. But anyway, this is an Indian horror drama. And it's all Indian actors. It's dubbed in English by Indian actors. And it's sort of it's definitely a ghost story. You kind of get a little bit maybe of a Stranger Things vibe because there's some kids that feature prominently in it. But basically it's about this family that moves into this old house that used to belong to an author who was also possibly involved in some black magic type stuff and some hauntings and stuff. And there's another plot line where you have these three kids that are kind of obsessed with ghosts and the supernatural, and they're trying to prove the existence of an afterlife with ghosts. And then on the third front, you've kind of got this police officer who's investigating some mysterious deaths in and around this house. So you have all these three kind of plot lines coming together. It's only a 5-episode series, so I'm going to binge it pretty quick. Like I said, I've only watched the first 2 episodes. I have not found it scary in the least, but it's actually very entertaining. So I would still recommend it. I don't find it scary at all, but it's very, very entertaining, especially if you like ghost stories. The cast is very good. I always like to see horror takes from other cultures and stuff. I really like that aspect of it, that it's kind of you getting to see a different take on the whole supernatural ghost movie, but from a different culture's perspective. So I really like it in that respect, and I've enjoyed it so far. I mean, like I said, I'm only 2 episodes in, so I can't give my full recommendation yet. I have heard that it gets scarier as it goes on, so maybe I'm just in the kind of intro level here.
Also, you're pretty seasoned. I think it would take a lot to...
Yeah. But it doesn't really have, to me, it doesn't really have like a scary vibe, like even to the level of like Haunting of Hill House. It's more of I would classify it again as more of a Stranger Things vibe. Feels a little more lighthearted and stuff. So I don't know where the scares are going to come from, if they ever do come, but we'll see. I would still highly recommend it. It's called Typewriter.
One of these days they're going to say that, and people are going to go in saying, yeah, and they'll watch it, and then it'll really actually scare them. It'll be kind of funny. But only hope.
All right, guys, so let's get to our Blu-ray releases for August 6th, 2019. This is our Discmemberment.
Wait, no, please, God. No, don't cut off,
All right, first up, Brian, is a classic that we've covered on the show before. This is Alice, Sweet Alice from 1976. This is a great Arrow release. I might have to pick this one up. Directed by Alfred Soule, starring Linda Miller, Mildred Clinton, Paula E. Shepard. In 1961, suburban New Jersey, a withdrawn adolescent girl is suspected of her younger sister's brutal murder during her first communion, as well as a series of stabbings that follow. And this one has some great features. A brand new 2K restoration of the theatrical version from the original camera negative. It does have a brand new audio commentary with Richard Harlan Smith, archival audio commentary with co-writer director Alfred Soule and editor Edward Salier. First Communion, Alfred Soule remembers Alice, Sweet Alice. Director Alfred Soule looks back on his 1976 classic. In the Name of the Father, brand new interview with actor Niles McMaster. Sweet Memories, Dante Tomaselli on Alice, Sweet Alice. Filmmaker Dante Tomaselli, cousin of Alfred Soule, discusses his long-time connection to the film. That's a long
I don't know why I laughed. It's like his cousin, like they're trying to look for anyone he won't come. Anyone in the family want to come join on? Anyone?
Hey, get Uncle Polly over here. Uncle Polly, get over here. Lost Childhood, the locations of Alice, Sweet Alice. A tour of the original Alice, Sweet Alice shooting locations hosted by author Michael Gingold. Alternate Holy Terror television cut. Deleted scene, alternate opening titles, trailer and TV spot, original screenplay, and image gallery. But that's a movie I really like, so I definitely kind of want this one.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm probably make that the pick of the week just because it's such a classic.
That's definitely pick of the week. Yeah, that's for sure. I think we agree on that one, Brian.
Yeah.
Next up, a recent release, The Curse of La Llorona from 2019, released by Warner Brothers. I failed to see this one in the theater.
Same here.
Directed by Michael Chavez, starring Linda Cardellini, Raymond Cruz, and Patricia Velasquez. Ignoring the eerie warning of a troubled mother suspected of child endangerment, a social worker and her own small kids are soon drawn into a frightening supernatural realm. It has some pretty good special features. The Myth of La Llorona, Behind the Curse, The Making of a Movie Monster, deleted scenes, and storyboards, which, for a recent release, I'll take that. as far as
Yeah, well,
features.
plus I like when when a horror movie's based on a legend, and then they go into they have a little mini doc on the true legend like that. I always find those interesting.
Yeah. Next up is, Brian, the one you're gonna guess.
Oh,
It's
boy.
called The Reflecting Skin from 1990. This is released by New and Film Movement. I don't think we've had them on the show before. Directed by Philip Ridley, starring Viggo Mortensen, Lindsay Duncan, and Jeremy Cooper. And what is The Reflecting Skin? An early 90s horror film with Viggo Mortensen. What?
All right, so first I should say every time I see Viggo Mortensen's name, all I want to do is go, but it is Viggo. but that's because I'm a little weird and twisted. But okay, I don't know if this is counting as cheating, but I looked at one of the special features.
Uh-huh.
So it says Angels and Atom Bombs, so I'm thinking it's some sort of post-apocalyptic thing where... And you know what? I don't know. I vaguely remember possibly not seeing this movie, but seeing like a clip of it or something. Is this where his it's like a post-apocalyptic time where he's like walking around with his child and trying to survive?
So you're thinking of The Road.
Damn it. Okay. Then I have no clue other than it's post-apocalyptic.
Which was nowhere near 1990. That was early 2000s.
Okay. So, all right. So, well, at least I got something with Viggo. I got to get a point for that. But, okay. So I'm thinking it's post-apocalyptic, though. I'm going to just go with that. And I can't even say it. Maybe if I learned how to say post-apocalyptic, we might get somewhere here. But, yeah, I'm thinking it's that. And where he's, I guess, I don't know. He's just wandering around looking in mirrors. I don't know.
Well, of course you're wrong. In the 1950s, a young boy living with his troublesome family in rural USA fantasizes that a neighboring widow is actually a vampire responsible for a number of disappearances in the area.
I was really, really not close at all.
No, you weren't. This has a 2K restoration, audio commentary by writer-director Philip Ridley, the aforementioned Angels and Atom Bombs featurette, and
Which is the biggest deceiving thing of all time.
Well, I guess 1950s. I guess the atom bomb scare.
Right, okay.
New essay by film writers Travis Crawford and Heather Heitch.
Yeah.
And then the
Heike.
the last one on here, Touch of Death, 1988, Raro Video.
That's a new one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a new one too. This is a Lucio Fulci film, starring Brett Halsey, Rhea DeSimone, and Al Cliver. A moody, middle-aged gigolo kills off women after he gets bored with dating them and uses their body parts for trophies and for consumption. This does have a 20-minute documentary called When Lucio Fulci Broke the Mirror. So, another one to add to your Fulci collection there, Brian.
Yeah, but there's really dating the right word for the gigolo? I mean, I know, yes, they basically pay to go escort them, but really, is it dating?
All I can think of was, I'm just a gigolo, and everywhere I go, people know the parts I'm eating.
Wouldn't that be funny if that was in the soundtrack?
All right, so in theaters, we do have one I'm highly looking forward to taking the kids to, because it's PG-13. I think the time is right to take them to see this.
Oh, boy.
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. The feature film directed by Andre Overdal, starring Zoe Margaret Coletti, Michael Garza, and Gabriel Rush.
Yes. You realize though, if you scar your children, they're up all night. Olivia, it's going to change it to Scary Stories Tim listens to while sleeping on the couch.
Yeah,
but,
probably. I'm so looking forward to this. I was such a fan of these books growing up. I still have the actual complete collection with the original illustrations, because you remember they released that edition without all the scary drawings.
Oh, right, yeah.
I still have the original, so I have not scarred them with that yet, but I need to.
But this looks, just for the little clips I saw, this looks super creepy.
Yeah.
So, that's, you know what? Maybe, hopefully this will be one of those things to show you don't need to have an R rating to necessarily scare people. Let's see.
Yeah.
See if they could do it.
All right, guys, so let's get into our summer slaycation. Okay, guys, so let's get into our main feature this week. This is Phantasm 2, the follow-up to Phantasm. Now, this was actually released quite a few years later. Phantasm 2 was kind of a big break between the 1979 Phantasm. Phantasm 2 was released, of course, in 1988, so a full 9 years later. And one of the repercussions of this is that A. Michael Baldwin, who played Mike in the first film, did not return to play Mike in the second film. And I think that's the one area that this film lacks is A. Michael Baldwin. Now, granted, I probably wouldn't say that if I had not seen further sequels where A. Michael Baldwin actually returns to the franchise. So if it had just been a sequel, and this was a different actor playing the same character, and that had been it, I probably would have been okay with it. But then when you have the original actor come back for future sequels, it kind of makes this one seem a little bit of an oddity.
Yeah, I mean, James LaGrosse wasn't bad.
He wasn't bad at all. No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
But he was not A. Michael Baldwin, the character. No. Because you grow to love that character so much, it's a little jarring to see him played by a different actor. But anyway, Reggie Bannister returns. Paula Irvine is Liz. Samantha Phillips is Alchemy.
I like Alchemy.
Yeah, Kenneth Tiger as Father Myers. Ruth C. Engel as Grandma. Mark Major as Mortician. Reuben Kushner as Grandpa. Stacey Travis as Gerald. J. Patrick McNamara as the psychologist. And Angus Scrimm, of course, as the tall man. Again, directed by Don Coscarelli. And the synopsis is Mike, now released from a psychiatric hospital, continues his journey to stop the evil tall man from his grim work. And spoiler alert, if you had not paid attention at the original end of original Phantasm, there was kind of some question of whether this was all in Mike's head. This entire tall man and everything that was going on. So the idea that he would be released from a psychiatric hospital is not completely out of the realm of possibility, because at the start of the sequel, he's even believing that maybe he made all this stuff up.
Right.
But then you get, of course, they find out very quickly that the tall man is still not only around, but he's actively making his way across the country, digging up slaves for his planet. So
he's on his world tour.
Yeah, he's on his cross country tour of America, and so Mike and Reggie go out to find him and stop him. And this is where the series really gets into that supernatural vibe that Brian and I talked about last week. Of just two, in this case, they're not brothers, but they might as well be.
Yeah.
Two brothers on the road going out to fight evil and stop evil. And this is where the series kind of takes off in that direction. And I really like that. Like I said, the only flaw I had with this movie was James LaGrosse as Mike. And it wasn't James LaGrosse's fault, because his performance was fine. It was actually really good. It's just that he wasn't the actor that I knew. And when A. Michael Baldwin comes back for Phantasm 3, it's like the old gang's back together again. And it feels more natural. But man, other than that, I really, really like this sequel. It gave us kind of more of everything that the first one gave us. It's not as trippy. It's not as crazy, because you're kind of settled into, you kind of have wrapped your head around by this point, hopefully, what the whole tall man thing is and what this universe is about, and kind of have come to expect the unexpected. So you kind of get to sit back and enjoy just watching Reggie and Mike go around and battle stuff.
Right. And actually, they have one really funny scene early on where they decide they have to, he finally convinces him, Mike convinces Reggie that this, he's, the tall man is still around. And so they go into that hardware store to break in, and it looks like they're stealing all the stuff, and then he just right at the last minute he pops open the register, and you think he's gonna take the money out, and he just instead puts a bunch of cash down. They bought all their stuff that they were going to the hardware store for. I don't know why it seems so silly, but it was just a scene that I liked, because it just, you already like them, and you'd even forgive them stealing. But yet it just shows that, no, they're just awesome anyway. They were not stealing. They were paying. It's just the place happened to be closed when they needed the stuff.
Yeah, they're genuinely good guys. And I love that about the movie. They're not anti-heroes. They're just genuinely good guys that are battling evil. And it's really that kind of whole formula boiled down to its most base element. And then again, you've got that brother connection. In this case, like I said, Reggie is sort of a foster brother to Mike. And a kind of a father figure as well, because he is much older.
And now they both have tragedy, in this one, because of the way this opens. Reggie loses a bunch of family members, and now, and Mike has lost his parents and brother. So it's like now they kind of both almost a little bit more on an even playing field even, where they both have major losses in their life and they have each other now. So their bond grows stronger, actually.
Right, because in the first movie, Reggie's kind of helping out just because he's a good guy and it's his friend and it's his friend's little brother. Right. And he's just a good guy and he's going to be there for him just as a friend. But in this movie, the stakes are much higher because Reggie's lost a lot of family, and they're both a shared villain now that has taken something and robbed them of their loved ones. Right. So now they both have a real driving reason to go after this guy, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
So, this movie is a lot more action-packed than the first one. I have to say that actually the first one actually really does have a lot of action. There's nothing boring about the first movie, don't get me wrong.
No.
But this one has like a more of a traditional fast-paced action horror type feel to it. It's not as many dreamy dream sequences, even though it does still kind of have that nightmarish feel to it.
Well, it's got that whole little almost like I guess it's like a psychic little ability that Mike has, right? That he's talking to that girl, right? Because he didn't meet her before, did he?
No, yeah, that was weird too. That's that whole again, expect the unexpected in these things, but yeah, there's this whole telepathy sequence thing, which kind of is a callback, a little bit of a callback to the first movie.
Right, with the grandmother.
With the grandmother, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't know if that was, that led me believe that, now if you think back, was now he, did those people, were they doing the magic, or was it him?
Yeah.
Maybe he was, really in tune with that, and it's it may have been on more his sided where all that stuff was appearing and disappearing.
Yeah, and it's another piece of the puzzle to this whole franchise of what's real, what's not real, and that kind of thing. So, yeah, there's some crazy sequences in this movie. Again, I think I fell in love with Reggie even more in this film than I did the first film. Because he's such a good guy, but he's also a badass. But he's not your typical badass. He's this balding. Even Mike tells him at one point, he's like, "You're a balding ex-ice cream vendor," or something like that.
Yeah, I know. It's funny because he's you would look at he reminds me of the Clint Eastwood's buddies and all the Any Which Way But Loose movies, and the Jeffrey Lewis, that kind of balding knucklehead kind of guy, but he's always very loyal to you and always got your back no matter what.
Exactly.
And he's, things happen to him, but he still comes back for more, kind of that's what he's like. But at the same time, he's super likable to the point of where he's not even a side character. He is a main character now, It's hey, there are two main characters. It's Mike and Reggie now.
Yeah, and it's weird.
Cool.
I can't think of another character in another horror film that was the central star of the film quite like Reggie in terms of that format.
And not the longevity of him. He might be in a movie.
Right.
But the fact that he's still the main character, he's that everyman's character that he's and he's in there, and it's cool.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the cores, along with Mike, of course. But but seeing that Reggie has played a role in all of them, Reggie feels like the heart of the franchise for sure.
Well, yeah, whenever you have that one guy that's in all of them,
that
there's
running
that continuity.
Thread,
yeah, and you feel more attached to the franchise when you have someone that you're, you get the comfort level. You're okay, he's back. It's good, kind of thing.
Yeah, and Phantasm 2, like every good sequel, kind of just gives you more of everything you loved about the first one. You have more Tall Man, you have more sphere features.
Yeah, and they have proven what the ball could do, actually. There's more mythology to the ball.
Yeah, it could shoot freaking laser beams, for one thing.
And it could be a key.
And it could be a key, and it can, it still does the old drill bit. Not drill bit, no pun intended. But yeah, it still does the old drill through the forehead trick. So yes, you get more balls. I like to call them spheres because the ball jokes just they constantly run through my head.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we don't want Tim to get too testy. So,
yeah, exactly. Brian, did you hear about the that guy that went into the craft store and dipped his testicles in glitter?
No,
it's pretty nuts. So moving right along.
Okay. Tim will see himself out.
But yeah, so you just get a little bit more of everything, more gore. It's weird about this franchise because it's even though it's a horror franchise, and the first movie was pretty creepy in spots. I think the movie feels more like kind of a dark action adventure type thing as the franchise progresses. It's still horror in terms of, these balls drilling into people's heads and stuff. Obviously, is very gruesome.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gruesome sequences. Don't get me wrong. But
yeah, the only other time you see that is like in like a one of those like Home Improvement gone wrong.
Yeah, but
video, but
but it feels to me sort of, and maybe the best analogy would be almost like a zombie movie where you have a gang of people that are out there just fighting zombies or whatever, and they're kind of like just like when Mike and Reggie are loading up the cart with stuff to take on the tall man. You just kind of have like this action adventure, like we're gonna go out and kill some monsters type vibe to it. That's not so much like creepy, scary, jump at you horror. It's kind of got a different feel to it.
Right.
But I like that about it, though.
Yeah, no, it's you can relate to the character. I mean, yeah, sure, there's the little psychic ability thing that Mike may or may not have. We're not sure, but
Yeah.
it looks like he does. But other than that, like Reggie is like this. You can relate to those guys because they're nothing. They don't have any special powers. They don't they're like if you and I like were like just hanging out and started noticing that these spheres were sticking in people's heads and graves were being robbed. It's like they just answered the call, they just said, "Okay, it's up to us."
Yeah, they didn't ask for any of this, but they have to do something about it. They can't just let it go on. I mean,
right.
And they're too good at guys to just ignore it. Because they could. I mean, granted, they suffered personal loss from this. That would give you motive enough to stop the tall man, but they could just walk away. He's not going to bother him if they're not going to bother him. You get the feeling if he's going across the country doing this, he's not really going to mess with them as long as they don't try to stop him.
Right. And I kind of like that, like the way they give the vibe. It's like the towns are like decimated when he's gone through it. It's like,
yeah,
it's kind of funny. Like that, like the whole town is right. Although the one funny thing is, notice almost every cemetery is identical. Like,
yeah,
entry. It's like they just like use the same one or something, and they just keep changing the name. But
although I do like, I don't remember if it was this movie or the original, where the tall man actually mentions that he kind of says something like, you've played a good game, boy, but your game is over. But
that was the first one.
Yeah, but you get the feeling that this is the first time anybody has stood up to him,
right?
And the tall man doesn't really feel threatened by it. He kind of almost maybe in a way finds it a little amusing, but also a little annoying.
Right.
And this continues as the series goes on. I mean, these guys quickly become the tall man's thorn in his side. And it's kind of interesting how this plays out because you never feel like we said, these guys are not your typical heroes. I never feel like they really stand a chance against him. Like, I feel like he's way more powerful than they are.
Yeah.
And even though they somehow find a way to pull it all together in the end and do something to stop him, at least temporarily, he always gives the impression, and maybe it's just Angus Scrimm's performance, I always feel the impression that they're just, like, bothersome to him. They're not, like, super
Yeah, well,
threats.
I know, I think you're right, because I think, like you said, like, the first one, it's like, I think he wouldn't have, like, obviously he was going through their town, so it's there. But, like, after that, I'm like, he would have been fine if he never saw them again.
Right.
But since they go after him, he's like, right. And he kind of almost like a fly. Like, you just want to swat it away, but they keep coming. And he keep coming, and so it's like, and eventually, like, they're after him. They're like, they want him gone.
Yeah.
When he just wants him to kind of get out of his way. Like, I think they're like, listen, I don't need to kill you. I don't really want, just get out of my way and leave me alone, kind of a thing. But, they're so aggressive to killing him that,
And if you think about it, if he's an interdimensional alien and he's coming to this planet, he could just warp into this planet and do whatever he needs to do. I mean, they are going to seem like insects to him. Like, what kind of power do they have? He could just come here and do whatever he wants and leave. So, and he's got all these other powers and illusions and flying metal spheres and stuff. They would seem like bothersome insects. So I think that comes across in Angus Scrimm's performance too. I think he does have this haughty disdain for both of them, which really comes across, which I think is really cool. I think it's one of the other things I really like about this movie is that villain's attitude towards the people that are trying to stop him.
Right.
He's not like a Freddy or Jason where he's like mindlessly killing people. He's just there to get a job done. These people keep bugging him.
You know, he's dressed for work. He's got his nice suit on, and he wants to
get his slaves to go home.
Yeah, and listen, and these guys are going after him. So, but yeah, actually, so funny. I want to read this trivia because this one is really, really cool. So it says at around 6, and this is a little spoiler, I guess. It says at around 6 minutes, a sequence involving an entire house exploding in flames, which was filmed using a genuine house, which was in the path of a California 105 freeway construction. The production company bought the house for $500 from the state of California under the condition that they would move it from the site. The original house was 1 story, but a second story was added to match the house from the first film. A safety officer was sent in to supervise the stunt and kept restricting the amount of explosives due to the fact that the house was near an airport. When he asked what movie scene was being filmed, what it was filmed for, and was told it was Phantasm 2, he responded, "This is Phantasm? Blow the hell out of it," and allowed them to use as much explosives as they desired. So the house was then rigged with primer cord, mortars, black powder, bombs, and plenty of gasoline, and blown up. The sequence was shot with 6 cameras and was tightly choreographed, with Angus Scrimm, Reggie Bannister, and Lori Loughlin, doubling as a young Mike, requiring to walk or run from the fireball of the explosion on film, all in one take. It also doubled as Reggie's house when the tall man kills his family by blowing up his home later in the film. Afterwards, the production company kept their word and removed what was left of the house.
yeah, and I'll tell you, when I was watching the Child's Play commentary today, a similar happy accident occurred on the set of that, where one of the houses gets blown up. It was actually a condemned house that they were about to bulldoze, and they actually bought the rights to blow it up themselves for the Child's Play movie. So it's kind of neat how that happened. And man, this is a good explosion, I will have to say.
Yeah,
it's really
it
impressive.
is well done. Oh, and look at this. So here's another little funny thing, kind of what we mentioned earlier about the first one and how we kind of saw this. It says, Don Coscarelli has revealed that some elements of this movie were influenced by Stephen King, especially a few aspects of his novel Salem's Lot. A small part of it at the end, when the characters go out on the road chasing down vampires, gave him the road movie idea of Mike and Reggie chasing the tall man. So look at that. Civil Gore is right on the cutting edge of things.
You got it.
And I did not see that before just now. So,
and this is another little thing. When I was talking about this movie feels a little less dreamy and surreal than the first movie, there was some direct influences by Universal during the making of this one, where the illusory style of the first movie was discouraged and a more linear plot line was encouraged with voiceover narrations, and no dreams by characters were allowed in the final cut. So really, Universal was responsible for making this kind of a more mainstream movie. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing per se, but it would have been interesting to see Don Coscarelli's original vision for this movie compared to the first one. I actually enjoy both styles of movie, so it doesn't bother me. But that's interesting that that was actually more Universal than Don Coscarelli making that decision.
Yeah, well, did you hear this thing about this kind of explains your recast thing. It says Universal executives wanted to recast both A. Michael Baldwin and Reggie Bannister because they were unknown and had been out of the movie business since the release of the first movie. So Don Coscarelli resisted their efforts and was forced to audition A. Michael Baldwin and Reggie Bannister for the opportunity to reprise their roles. In the end, his efforts won him the concession. He was allowed to keep one of the two.
Wow.
But he had to replace the other. So Coscarelli chose to keep Bannister and cast James LaGrosse in Baldwin's place. And I guess you're not going to replace Reggie. You know, I think that was awful. Why you had to make that role. And the fact that there was a big age gap, I guess. Although it took place right after, but I guess in terms of... Oh, no, I guess there was.
No, there was a gap, and that's the reason he could do it, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess it made sense that, visually, obviously, you could replace Michael easier than you could Reggie.
And audiences are used to having young characters replaced by older actors all the time as their grown-up version. So it's a lot less jarring for the viewer than if you replaced Reggie, who shouldn't have changed at all, or considerably during the few years. But I can buy that a 14-year-old or 15-year-old looks different at 24 than he did when he was 15. So yeah, that was the right decision, I think.
Right. I think it's funny. Lori Loughlin though played young Mike.
Yeah, that's weird.
In those scenes. And she's not even cast. She's not in the credits as far as I see in there.
Yeah.
And by the way, one of the jobs, ironically, that Reggie Bannister worked at while he was out of acting was at a funeral home.
Oh wow! I don't think I could go near a funeral home after being in this movie.
Yeah, I don't think that's the place I would have shot. But I guess he might not have had many options. But maybe his ice cream man gig was gone.
And they really emphasized the more disgusting, the unpleasant aspects of the whole mortuary business in these movies. Like everything just feels like death. It's not the more comforting side of that whole business, and they show you all the gritty details of like the crematorium and all that kind of stuff in these movies. So they really emphasize that kind of side of it, which is another reason why I would never go into the funeral home business after this movie.
Yeah, I mean, no one likes going to those places to begin with, let alone...
Other than seeing the seedy underbelly. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guys, we're going to stick with the same beer pairing because I think, Brian, that was perfect. The Phantasm beer pairing.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to top that one.
And we're going to keep the triple threat this week since I am out of town as we speak. So you have one extra week to get those triple threat clues in. I guess we can run through them one more time, Brian, if you want to.
Yeah.
So the triple threat, we're looking for an actor or actress. Clue number 1, while I'm a full-grown adult, I've played a baby more than once. Clue number 2, I was featured on the soundtrack for my first ever movie credit. And clue number 3, I once owned my own personal clothing line that one of my co-stars wore in one of my films. Who am I? So next week, Brian, we'll be covering Phantasm 3, 4, and 5, which is called Ravager. Yes. And that's the one I have not seen. 3 and 4 I have. 3 is one of my favorites out of this whole series, so I'm very much looking forward to discussing that one and talking to Brian about that one, because as you know, the third film in every horror franchise is where it goes really nuts, and Phantasm is no exception, so I think you're really going to enjoy that one, Brian. And
yes, I'm looking forward to that one. That one I don't think I have seen, so.
Yeah, great series, and then after that, of course, as we mentioned last week, we will be wrapping up our Summer Slaycation series with Scream, and it's kind of hard to believe, Brian, that after that, summer's going to be practically over, and we'll be back into fall and Halloween. This year's just flown by.
Really fast. Yeah, like I saw someone post like 100 days or something to Halloween or something.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. And a big wedding. So looking forward to that. All right, so guys, we will catch you back here next week with another episode. Don't let the tall man get you.
No.
Where the good Lord split you.
Yes.